In the year 1847, the vast wilderness of the Utah Territory stretched endlessly beneath the searing sun. Dust blew like whispers across the rocky terrain. This was a land of pioneers, outlaws, and secrets buried beneath sandstone and sagebrush. Among them rode a man draped in black, Mr. Ezekiel Whitmore, a wealthy, educated settler with charm, power, and an unspeakable past. He was no ordinary pioneer. He came not for land, but for something far more elusive, control. By the year's end, he would have 4 wives. But by winter's frost, only one would remain. The rest? Gone. Vanished. Without a trace. And so began the most whispered tale in Utah's early history. A tale not of love, but of control, greed, and murder. Welcome, traveler, to the mysterious case of Mr. Whitmore and his 4 wives. Whitmore's wagon creaked into Kanab Valley, a lush Eden hidden among red cliffs. The locals watched with wary eyes. They'd heard tales from the east of this gentleman, who spoke with a preacher's grace but carried a gun like a bounty hunter. With him came Abigail, wife number 1, elegant, quiet, and seemingly devoted. They claimed they'd come to start a schoolhouse. But days later, whispers spread, Whitmore had 2 more wagons coming. And 2 more women. The townsfolk grew nervous. Polygamy was taboo even among settlers. Yet Whitmore carried papers, forged, perhaps, that gave him legal cover. Sheriff Boone watched, arms crossed, suspicion burning in his gut. "This man's bringing trouble," he muttered. He didn't know how right he was. That very night, as the wind howled through the canyon, one of Whitmore's wives-to-be disappeared, before she even arrived. Eleanor Green was meant to arrive with the second wagon party, a schoolteacher from Illinois. Strong-willed, independent, and last seen crossing Devil's Pass. But when the wagon reached Kanab, Eleanor was gone. Her belongings still in the back. Her journal torn, the last page reading. He lied about everything. Whitmore claimed she left, ran off in fear. But no tracks led away from the trail. Only one boot, half buried in the red dust. Abigail said nothing. Sheriff Boone took the journal but dared not confront Whitmore outright. "Not without proof," he said. But in the town saloon, a drunk trader whispered to a stranger, "Saw her screamin' in the canyon. Never seen eyes that wide." Whitmore dismissed it as frontier hysteria. But the town began to turn. One woman missing was tragedy. A second would be murder. Josephine Walker arrived with thunder behind her. A fiery widow from Missouri, she stepped off the wagon like a woman on trial, chin up, eyes defiant. She was wife number 3. No one knew why she'd agreed to marry Whitmore. Some said he offered her land. Others said she was running from something worse. At the town hall, she questioned Whitmore's version of Eleanor's disappearance. "A woman doesn't vanish without blood or a fight," she spat. Abigail flinched at the tone. Whitmore only smiled. "You'll learn, dear," he said, "some women get restless." That night, Josephine made her way to the sheriff's office with a folded note. She whispered, "If I don't come back tomorrow, read this." But by morning, Josephine's bed was empty. A shattered mirror was all that remained. The note? Torn in half and burned. Sheriff Boone began to fear what no lawman wanted to believe, that the devil had come to Kanab, dressed as a gentleman. Sheriff Boone rode out to the Whitmore homestead. What he found chilled him, a locked cellar door with chains thick as a jailhouse. Whitmore claimed it was for food storage, but the air that rose from beneath was cold, and smelled faintly of lavender and decay. Boone demanded to search it. Abigail intervened, hands trembling. "He'll kill me," she whispered, before running back inside. That evening, Boone brought 3 men and returned. The cellar was empty, spotless, too spotless. But outside, behind the stables, they found a locket, Eleanor's. Inside it, a strand of blonde hair. Whitmore laughed when Boone showed him. A woman loses things. Why does that make me a criminal? But Boone now knew, the man was dangerous. And yet, without witnesses or bodies, justice had no teeth. Not yet. The fourth wife arrived under moonlight, riding alone, a woman named Mercy Hart. She was nothing like the others. Dressed in black, with silver eyes and a voice that carried like a hymn, she claimed to be a healer. He summoned me, she said, but I came for them. Mercy took her place in the house quietly. But the townsfolk noticed something odd. Whitmore, changed. He stopped riding into town. His temper flared in public. At night, lights danced in the windows, strange, blue flickers, like fire from no source. Abigail, once meek, began to speak in riddles. She's not what she seems, she told Boone. None of this is. Mercy wasn't here to marry Whitmore. She was here to end him. Sheriff Boone began to dream, the same dream, night after night. A canyon filled with weeping women. Eleanor's voice echoed, "He keeps us in the stone." Boone awoke each time, drenched in sweat, the smell of lavender thick in the air. He wasn't alone. Half the town reported nightmares, all about women screaming from beneath the earth. Mercy, meanwhile, walked the desert each morning before dawn, whispering to the rocks. "She's summoning them," Abigail said. But who was she? A witch? A prophet? Or justice cloaked in mystery? One night, Boone followed her, and saw her touch the earth, chanting words older than the Mormon hymns. The wind howled back. The ground trembled. Whitmore screamed from inside his home. Something, or someone, was waking. The townsfolk gathered under a red moon. Mercy called them without words, they simply came. She stood in the center of the square with Abigail at her side. "Tonight," she said, "we break the circle of lies." Sheriff Boone arrived with rifle in hand, not knowing what he'd find. Mercy held out a mirror, cracked down the center. "Let him see himself," she whispered. At that moment, Whitmore burst into the square, wild-eyed, shirt stained with blood. "She's turning you against me," he howled. But the townsfolk did not move. Mercy raised her hand. "Where are the wives, Ezekiel?" she asked. Whitmore dropped to his knees, weeping. They wouldn't listen, they had to be still. Boone stepped forward. "Where are the bodies?" Whitmore only laughed, until the earth split open beneath his feet. They found it beneath the homestead, deeper than any cellar had a right to be. A stone chamber. Cold. Silent. Inside lay 3 coffins, each with the name of a wife carved in it. Only one was empty. Josephine's. Mercy stepped forward. "He tried to bury them in silence," she said. "But silence is never eternal." Boone wept as they opened the lids. The women's bodies were there, untouched by time. As if they'd only just lain down. Abigail clutched Boone's hand. "I tried to warn them. I tried to leave," Mercy nodded. "He enchanted them with fear. But fear dies in truth." Whitmore, bound and screaming, was taken to the jail. But he would never speak again. They called it the quietest trial in Utah's history. Whitmore sat pale and mute. Mercy testified, not with facts, but with fire. "He is not just a man," she said. "He is what power becomes without soul." Abigail spoke too, voice shaking. "He told me I was nothing without him. But I am not nothing. I am alive." The town voted unanimously, guilty. Sheriff Boone led him to the gallows at dawn. As the rope tightened, Whitmore whispered, "You think I'm the only one?" and smiled. The wind howled once more as his body dropped. But the evil didn't die with him. Not fully. At sunrise, Mercy stood at the edge of town, her black cloak shimmering like smoke. Boone approached. "What are you?" he asked. She smiled faintly. A reminder that the dead can still speak. She handed him the cracked mirror. When the next one comes, you'll know. Abigail embraced her, tears in her eyes. Thank you. Mercy whispered, don't thank me. Thank them. The ones who screamed loud enough to wake the stones. She mounted her horse and rode west, toward a land no one could name. Behind her, the wind carried the scent of lavender. Ahead, more secrets awaited, years passed. The town of Kanab grew, railroads, schools, and modern houses. But the old homestead stood untouched, its cellar sealed with stone. Tourists sometimes asked about the legend. Locals only shook their heads. Best not to ask, they'd say. But every so often, on blood moon nights, someone hears weeping from the canyon. A woman's voice whispering, we are still here. Sheriff Boone grew old with the cracked mirror on his desk, always watching for signs. And Abigail? She opened the first school for girls in Utah Territory. Her first lesson: never let anyone silence your voice. The story of Mr. Whitmore and his wives became legend, but in that legend, truth still breathed. Because evil may wear a gentleman's face, but justice always has the last word.